Welcome to Tales from the Dark, a place where shadows whisper stories and nightmares come alive. Dim your lights, put on your headphones, and get ready, because tonight the darkness itself will be your storyteller. Each tale you hear will linger, creeping beneath your skin, haunting your dreams long after the story ends. Let's enter the darkness together. It started with a knock I wasn't supposed to hear. 3 soft taps. Not loud enough to demand attention, and just quiet enough to feel intentional. I was alone in the house. That wasn't unusual. I lived alone, no roommates, no visitors, but that knock, it came from the basement door. I was brushing my teeth. I hadn't even turned the hallway light on yet. I liked the house dark in the mornings, the way the shadows dragged longer through the stairwell. It gave me a false sense of calm, like I hadn't really started the day yet. But the knock, it changed that. It was too careful, too patient. I didn't go down right away. Instead, I stared at the door from the top of the stairs, watched the dust motes hang in the air, waited. Nothing. Then I told myself it must have been the pipes or the foundation. Old houses do that. They shift, they creak, they try to be more alive than they are. I went to work. I tried to forget. But something was waiting for me when I got back. Not a thing. Not visible. But the air was different. Heavier. Like someone had breathed all the oxygen out of the rooms and replaced it with stillness. And there was something else. A sound. Faint. Rhythmic. I followed it. Back to the basement door. It was unlocked. I never leave it unlocked. And I swear to you, even before I touched the handle, I knew. There was someone down there. I didn't go in. Not that night. I pushed a chair against the door. That sounds ridiculous, I know, like some kid in a horror movie doing the bare minimum. But I just needed to sleep. I needed to delay. And somehow, I did. But the next morning the chair was moved, not toppled, moved. Set carefully a foot away from the door. That's when I called the cops. They didn't find anything. They swept the basement, checked the windows, did the whole routine. Maybe it was just you forgetting, they said. I nodded like I believed them. But I didn't. Because I never go into the basement. That's not hyperbole, I mean it literally. The door to the basement is original to the house, maybe 70, 80 years old. But the stairs, the concrete, it's off, too new. The dimensions are wrong, too narrow, too steep. The insulation doesn't match the rest of the house, and the lights, they flicker even when everything else is stable. There's something wrong with that basement. But the problem is, now it knows I've noticed it, and it's responding. That night I heard it again, the tapping. Not just 3 this time, more. Deliberate, patterned, like it wanted me to know it could count. I sat on my couch, lights off, not moving, listening. The knock stopped. Then, a slow creak. Not the door, the stairs. Someone or something was coming up, but it never reached the door. The sound just stopped, like it was waiting. You don't understand what that does to your brain, hearing something approaching inch by inch, knowing it has no business existing, and then silence. That kind of stillness gets inside you. It makes everything feel complicit, the walls, the furniture, the shadows. And then it got worse. 2 days later, I found a photograph on my kitchen table. Not a modern one, a Polaroid. My kitchen, my table, me, asleep. The angle was from just a few feet away, like whoever took it had been standing at the foot of my bed. There was no note, no explanation, just the picture and the silence. I should have left then, I know that. But I told myself it was a prank. Maybe someone had a key, maybe an ex. I called around. I even changed the locks. And I stayed. Because part of me, a deep broken part, needed to know. If I left without understanding, it would follow me. I could feel it. This wasn't just a haunting. It was a conversation. So I went downstairs. It was 2:13 a.m. when I decided. I turned on every light, brought a flashlight, held a kitchen knife, though it felt absurd in my hand, and I opened the basement door. It was cold. Colder than it should have been. The kind of cold that made my breath show even in June. The light at the bottom flickered once, then died. I paused, waited for something to move. Nothing did. I descended. 1 step, 2, 13 in total. The air got thicker with each one, like walking through wet wool. And then, I was in it. The basement was empty, no furniture, no shelves, just concrete walls, dust, and old pipes. But the floor, it was damp, not water, something else. It smelled wrong, like rust and meat. And in the far corner, yonder was a second door. No handle, no hinges, just embedded into the wall. A seam barely visible, but definitely there. I didn't touch it. I don't know why. Maybe because my instincts were screaming not to. Maybe because the air around it vibrated, not sound, not sight. Pressure. Like it wasn't a door at all, but something pretending to be one. I backed away, climbed the stairs, closed the main door. But that night the tapping didn't return. Neither did the photos. For a while I thought it was over, but it wasn't. Because the next time I went downstairs, maybe a week later, the second door was open. Not wide open, just ajar. Enough to show me a glimpse of the space beyond. It wasn't another room. It wasn't even a space that should exist. It was a corridor. Long, narrow, made of stone, older than the house, older than anything I've ever seen. It sloped downward, disappearing into darkness. And there was something else. A sound, breathing, not mine, not animal, human, wet, labored, suffering. I should have run. Instead, I whispered hello. And the breathing stopped and was replaced by whispers, not one voice, many, all overlapping like a crowd pressed to your ear. I couldn't understand the words, but they knew me. I slammed the basement door, I locked it, I pushed the fridge in front of it. And that night I dreamed of them, not just the voices, the corridor, the figures. Bent half-seen silhouettes dragging their limbs across ancient stone, whispering to each other in sounds shaped like regret. I woke up gasping, covered in sweat. And a smell was in the room, that same damp, rusty scent from the basement. It was leaking into everything. And then the photo returned, this time not on my table, on my pillow. Me, sleeping, again, but not alone, in the background, barely visible. A figure, standing in the doorway, no eyes, just darkness where the face should be. I didn't sleep again after that. I sat on the floor back against the farthest wall from the basement, every light in the house blazing. Still the darkness crept. It doesn't need permission. It seeps into corners, clings to your skin, waits in the space between blinks. I thought about leaving. I even packed a bag. But when I opened the front door, I saw it. Another photo, taped to the outside. Not one of me this time. A little girl, standing in a basement. My basement. Her back to the camera, head tilted towards something or someone just outside the frame. The floor was soaked beneath her feet. I never had kids. I don't know who she was, but I saw something written in pencil on the back of the photo. Don't let her out. That was the night I heard her. I was in the bathroom, door locked, lights off, sitting on the edge of the tub because I couldn't bear the thought of a bed when I heard footsteps on the floorboards. Light, careful, like bare feet, and then humming. A child's voice, soft, broken, just out of tune. A lullaby I didn't recognize. I didn't move, not even to breathe. And then she knocked. Not at the bathroom door, at the basement door, 4 knocks, then the hum again. She was trying to remember the melody like she used to know it. I whispered, "Who are you?" And the humming stopped. The silence stretched, long enough for me to start crying. Then, a new sound. She whispered my name, not screamed, not growled, just whispered. So gently it made the bones in my spine bend. I didn't answer. She didn't ask again. But I knew. She was still at the door. She wanted me to open it. I tried to research the house. I needed to know what the hell I was standing on top of. But there were no deaths registered here. No missing persons reports tied to this address. Nothing before 1956, just a gap. Like this place didn't exist before that. So I went to the library, found archived maps, and that's when I saw it. Before the house was built, before the town even expanded this far, there was a chapel here. Just a tiny black square labeled St. Rilke's Wayward Home, built in 1913. No records past 1922. It burned down, no survivors. But there were whispers, accounts too vague to trust. One stood out, a journal entry from a nearby farmer dated May 17, 1922. It read, "They brought the children down there. They said it was penance, that they were marked, that the dark would cleanse them." But no light ever came back up, only the humming. I felt sick. I threw up in the parking lot because I knew without a shred of doubt that the thing humming in my basement wasn't a little girl. It was something pretending to be one, and she wasn't alone. That night I tried something I shouldn't have. I set up a baby monitor. I didn't own one, I had to borrow it from a coworker. Told them I was watching my niece. They smiled. I smiled. That smile died the second I turned on the receiver. At first just static, then crackling, then breathing, slow, wet, like lungs too damaged to function. Then the lullaby, broken, halting, and then overlapping voices, like a choir if the choir had forgotten how to be human. It wasn't just humming anymore. They were talking, not in words, in grief, waves of it, pushing through the speaker like the last confessions of things that used to be people. I heard scratching, claws maybe, or nails dragged across stone, and then the voice again, that same childlike tone. "Let me in. You left the door open." I ran to the basement door. It was shut, locked. The fridge was still in front of it, but the stairs were no longer silent. There were footsteps coming up again. I didn't wait. I drove for hours. To nowhere in particular, slept in my car. Woke up to find another photo on the dash. This time not me, not the girl. It was the corridor, and there was something stepping out of it. Something impossibly thin like skin stretched over a question. No face. Just a grin not drawn, not painted. Carved into where a mouth should be. The caption on the back, "Soon." I went home. I don't know why. Maybe I thought I could end it. Maybe I thought if I confronted it, the house would take me and leave the world alone. I ripped open the basement door, stormed down. The second door was wide open. I walked through. The corridor was even longer than I remembered, and the air, it moved like it was breathing around me. I walked until my legs burned, until the silence screamed. Then I saw them, not clearly, just outlines. Dozens, hundreds, bent forms, children, adults. Things that had forgotten how to be one or the other. All staring, all whispering, all waiting. And in the center, her, the girl, smiling. But the smile was wrong. Too wide, too deep, like the skin around her mouth would split if she held it any longer. She said nothing, just lifted her arm and pointed behind me. I turned, and I saw myself, or what used to be me, older, hollow, eyes gone, and in my hands another photograph of the basement, empty, no doors, no corridor, just Silence. I blinked and the light snapped back. I was in my kitchen on the floor, no blood, no wound, just exhaustion. The basement door was shut, not locked, not barricaded, just closed. I don't go near it anymore. I don't need to. Because now the photos appear without warning. In the shower, inside my cereal box, between pages of books I never read. They all show the same thing. Me, standing at the bottom of the basement stairs, smiling. And behind me, her. Not a girl, not a ghost, something far worse. And in the newest one, I'm opening the second door.